Welcome guys to another video. In this video, we're going to be going over what creates strong punch in combat sports, how they train to get stronger punching power. You guys might be noticing a theme here with all these MMA, boxing type of videos. I'm really into this type of stuff and like analyzing how certain training influences sport. And I also like not just the MMA combat sports in general, I like seeing how training leads to a particular athlete, like in basketball or in soccer, how they train their legs in certain ways and train their upper bodies in certain ways, particularly for that sport. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video.
Okay guys, so here we are. We're going to be analyzing this video, taking a look at how punching influences the sport of boxing and MMA and how certain people get better at it. This video is from MMA Access. I like this guy. This guy's been, I think I've already looked at some of his videos before. So yeah, let's get into it.
Mike Tyson, Mark Hunt, Conor McGregor, Dan Henderson, Francis Ngannou. In the world of MMA and boxing, there are few things as intimidating and polarizing as a true power puncher. The fighter that holds the touch of death, that seemingly inhuman ability to put down their opponent with just a single punch. As prolific power puncher Deontay Wilder says,
they have to be perfect. For 12 rounds, I only have to be perfect for 2 seconds, and each and every time I prove that.
But what is it that gives these fighters this power? Is it something that you're born with? Something that can be learned and cultivated with training? Or a mixture of genetics and training to create a killer?
That's probably the one.
In this video, we will go over a variety of factors that contribute to a fighter's ability to generate power in their hands. The biggest question that has surrounded the topic of power punching is whether or not the power is genetic and something a fighter is born with. Fighters like Mike Tyson, Deontay Wilder, Francis Ngannou, and Mark Hunt claim that they were born with this God-given power. The short answer is yes. Kind of. But the long answer is a bit more complicated.
Train and get much better punching
power is genetic,
but
what specifically are the factors
there's
that
certain genetic
power?
aspects of it that influence your
factors
power.
That are believed to enhance a person's power.
Probably never going to punch as hard as Mike Tyson if you're 5'1".
One of the most widely recognized identifiers of power is wrist and hand size and circumference. The reason these are common measurements for power is that there is a direct correlation between wrist and hand size and the size of a person's bones and frame. Larger bone size and skeletal frame means more power for a few reasons. Hands and wrists also don't tend to hold large amounts of fat like other parts of the body, so are viable measurements for almost any body fat level. Larger hands
guys, you with small wrists can't punch.
Arms as a whole.
I'm not 100% sure with this,
velocity,
since your bone structure can actually vary. You could have thick bones in one area or thicker than one area than another.
This is boxer Manny Pacquiao.
In general, your bones are equally thick all over the place, but there's certain genetic factors where you can have big torso.
Higher than the average wrist size for heavyweight boxers. Heavyweight greats like Mike Tyson and Joe Louis also had wrist sizes of 8 inches. MMA fighter Francis Ngannou has the largest.
You could also influence the amount of bone density through the amount you punch and train your bones.
A larger frame also means the upper limit of how much muscle the skeleton can naturally hold is higher. This can be seen in fighters like Ngannou, who is 6'4", 255 pounds and has a six-pack, or Mike Tyson, who at 5'10", weighed nearly 220 pounds with very little body fat and a non-existent neck. Building off of skeletal structure, another big genetic factor that affects power are the insertions of ligaments and tendons onto the frame. For this, we will use the pectorals, biceps, and triceps as examples. There are many more muscle groups that play important roles in generating power, but we will focus on these as they are the ones that directly propel the arm. These muscles all have 2 insertions.
Although I'm not 100% sure with the wrist thing that this guy was talking about. It does make sense though, where your bones are thicker, the better you'll be able to punch, but some people have tiny wrists, punch like crazy hard.
Similar to throwing a punch or bench pressing.
There's this one fighter called Alex Pereira, his wrists aren't huge and he punches, he has just huge hands and it beats people up with his hands.
With the exact same size,
I'm not sure if it's all about wrist size.
But one had the muscle insertion lower on the humerus than the other, the person with the lower insertion would be able to generate more power. The easiest way to understand why that is to think of the arm as a lever, specifically a third-class lever, force that can be generated.
A lever.
In the
So
case
if
of
you,
a
a
punch,
lever
more
or lever,
or
whatever
more force
this guy's
means
saying.
a faster, meaner punch being thrown.
Think
The
of
same
how
logic
you
applies
lift
to
a
both
car.
biceps and the triceps,
The machine that
which
they
are
use
also
where they
key
push
muscle
on it.
groups in propelling the
If
arm
you
for a punch.
push something at
Unfortunately,
a
this is a
leverage
difficult
point,
metric
it'll
to
have an
quantify
easier
and
time
analyze on a
being
fighter.
lifted up.
Other
So a
metrics,
good
such
example
as
of this
muscle tendon
is my
elasticity
wallet
and dominant
and my
muscle
phone.
fiber types will also play a role in this.
I put my phone here.
Tendons
If
which
I
have a
push
higher elastic modulus
here
can store
and
a
I
larger
have
amount of energy within them, given the same
a
level
point
of
under it.
deformation or flex.
So let's say there's a point under my
This
phone
study
here
shows a strong
that would
correlation between muscle
I could
tendon
use to
parameters like the
leverage
ones
on.
mentioned and peak
If I lift it like
power
this, I have an
generation.
easier time lifting up my
A
wallet.
metric that is much
Then if I
more
do
easily
this,
quantifiable is the standing
there's
vertical
more
jump,
weight.
something most of us are familiar with
So
from
if
high
I
school gym class.
leverage the
Although it
force,
has not yet been directly linked
I
to
can lift
punching
up my
power,
wallet since that's
it is
only
a
pushing
long-standing
through
staple
a
of
smaller
measuring
area,
athletes'
has a smaller
ability to
area
generate power
of force.
in American football,
It's like
Olympic
condensed.
lifting, and wrestling.
I can explain it better.
Legendary strength coach
So I'm only
and
pushing
author
off
Mark
through one
Burke
segment of my
writes
wallet instead of
extensively
pushing off through the
about
whole
standing
thing. All
vertical
the
jump
force that
in
I
his
would be
book,
using when I push
Practical
through the whole
Programming
thing,
for Strength
focus
Training.
on this one segment,
The
causing it to
reason a
lift up
vertical
easier.
jump is a strong metric for power is that it can measure how much of an athlete's strength they can
And that's
convert
true.
into power. It also cannot be
That
trained.
also depends
An
on
already fit athlete who trains on their vertical jump for years and years may only increase their jump by about 2 inches.
that's not
Aside
true.
from losing large amounts of weight, as it's
You
something
could
that's
gain
determined by
more
genetics.
than 20 inches on your
This study
vertical if
from
you
the
train
Journal of
hard
Strength
enough
and
and you have good
Conditioning
enough
Research
genetics.
found a strong
Because
correlation
people
between
sometimes
vertical jump
have
scores and peak
small,
power
regular
generated by
vertical jump
weightlifting
scores.
athletes. Here's a chart of
But
standing vertical jump scores.
when they
How
train,
much power can
they
you
have high
generate? One of the last factors I want to
adaptive
cover is musculature.
genes,
Although
very strong
many
adaptive
assume
genes, and
that
that
big
leads
guns
to
and
an
pecs means
increase
you must be a hard hitter. That is not necessarily true.
in
When assessing an athlete's power
vertical
capability,
jump.
it's
Some
better
people
to
can
assess the
adapt
legs,
very well to
glutes,
training,
and the back.
even
Like
if they
Conor
don't already
McGregor's
have a
coach,
good
John
physique.
Kavanagh says, first thing I check on a fighter is their ass. After all, a good punch comes from the legs and hips. If you don't believe me,
Very
look
true.
at the legs of Mike Tyson. After watching this video, you might be feeling disappointed. You measured your wrist, checked your high jump score, checked your ass in the mirror, and realized that you just may not have the genetic jackpot to knock out a horse. But don't let that discourage you from trying to learn to hit hard.
Exactly.
More important than any of the factors mentioned earlier, years of dedicated training, honing your skills, hand speed, precision, and timing can allow an athlete with the most average genetics to develop reliable knockout power.
Very true. Also,
Thanks for watching my video.
adaptive
If you like the
genetics
content,
play a
make
big
sure to
role.
like, comment, and power punch that subscribe button.
Get over this real quick. Pause here. A lot of people, like I said before, have certain genetics that they're just set with. These are genetics that are phenotype that are expressed. Phenotype means that it's expressed. Genotype means that it's in your genes, that it's not being expressed. So your genotype and your phenotype could both match. It could be something that you have, and it could be something that's being expressed. You might not be able to activate certain genes without certain circumstances being present. So, for example, you might have the ability to grow to be 6 feet tall, but if you don't eat and you live in poverty, you're not going to grow to be 6 feet tall. Even if it is in your genes and your genotype, it won't be expressed as your phenotype, since if you're not eating. Same thing here. Mike Tyson, if you look at him when he was really, really, really young, he wasn't born like a buff baby. He had trained, he got stronger, he has very strong adaptive genetics, so his body adapts very quickly to training, meaning that he grows a lot quicker. But if he were to never train at all, he'd be a stick, he wouldn't have any muscle, especially if he didn't have food available. But he did. So remember that when you're starting your training. You could be horrible, tiny wrists, horrible vertical or whatever, but then if you train it, your vertical could grow 20-something inches if you have very strong adaptive genetics, and you could get muscle all over your body. Maybe not your wrists, since your wrists have pretty much no muscles. They have a few ligaments around them, which could grow, but those take years to grow, and it's a very small amount. But it won't make a big difference. I mean, if you punch really quick and you have big hands, small wrists aren't gonna play a huge role. Although I'm gonna guess that small wrists typically give you small hands. But not everything works like that. Some people have big torsos and not so big legs. Like they have the torso of a 6-foot person with tiny legs, or very long arms and tiny legs, or very long legs and tiny arms. So all of that, keep in mind when you're considering your training. Don't let it bring you down. Everybody in the end should just take the main concepts of training is good, and not training, you'll never find out how you could be. You could have crazy potential if you train. You never know where you're at genetically if you don't train. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today, guys. I hope you liked the video. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought about the video. If there's anything new that you want to see, I'm going to be trying to do more of these reaction type videos, since I've been seeing that they get more views, more likes, more comments. So yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.